Have you ever had a dream and then later in your waking life find yourself in that exact same situation and place? A dream that you didn't even realize was precognitive or psychic? Or maybe you have a recurring dream and wonder what it could mean. Do you ever wake up over and over again thinking you're really awake, but you're still confused in this half-dream state? Yeah, that's called a false awakening, by the way. Ever experiment with consciousness as a kid and spin around over and over until you're dizzy? Ever wonder if we share our dream space and can dream collectively with other people? Well, here on the Dream World podcast, we have answers for all these questions, and we're going to dive deeper into how you can start your dream work practice and increase your chances of having more lucid dreams, which in turn can make incredible, amazing benefits to your waking life. In this first section of this crash course for lucid dreaming, it's going to be designed to help you have at least 5 lucid dreams this month if you follow it step by step. So this first episode is about dream journaling and reality checks. These are the 2 most important things to start doing if you care about lucid dreaming or even your non-lucid dreams, which are just as important. So I will explain why and how they're related. Let's get into it. If you look online and start researching lucid dreaming techniques, you're going to find that there's like hundreds of different things you can do to induce lucid dreams. And the reason is because different things work for different people. So it's really about trial and error and experimenting and finding what works for you. Remember, it's not something that you can just pick up and learn in one day and just have a lucid dream that easily. If you can, that's cool, but it definitely is like working out a muscle. It takes consistency and practice, and you gotta build it up. There are 2 things, however, that every lucid dreamer should be doing, and that's dream journaling and reality checks. So in order to have lucid dreams, you have to remember them, right? You might even be lucid and wake up and you just don't remember. So a dream journal, it helps you remember your dreams and build your dream recall. You'll notice that even after a couple days of entries, you start to remember way more details than you normally do. A dream journal also just kind of starts to tell your brain and your subconscious mind, okay, these are things I want to pay attention to. This is something important to me that I want to remember. So it kind of really helps to incubate that idea into your brain, and it helps you become lucid while you're dreaming. So in order to keep a dream journal, you can really find what works for you. You can do it on your notes, you can write it in a sketchbook or a notebook, you can even voice record it on your phone. There's no right or wrong, like really find what works for you and what's easiest for you to do. The important thing is that you write it as soon as you wake up. Before you do anything crazy, before you get up and drink coffee or go to the bathroom or look at Instagram, take 2 minutes to just write down your dreams because that's when it's most fresh in your head. I'm sure you guys have experienced when you get up and start to walk around and go about your day, all your dreams start to fade within like 10 seconds. That first crescent of awakening is the most important time to write down your dreams. And it can be difficult to build that habit, but the results are totally worth it. There's also a couple apps that can help you record your dreams, such as Capture or Dream Moods, and these are cool because they help you analyze them and find common symbols, and you can like look at your stats and things like that. But really find what works for you. You can write down the plots, characters, emotions, key points. You can even just do bullet points if you don't feel like going into detail. I personally use one of those apps and I go into detail, but everyone's different. So just find what works for you. But the important thing is that you write it down. It's also just really cool to look back on old dreams and it's like, wow, I never would have remembered this otherwise, or I totally forgot about this, or you make a connection in your waking life later and you never would have remembered if you hadn't written it down. So it's just really cool and really helpful. It's like a life hack that we can use to like really figure out about ourselves and our lives and what our dreams are trying to tell us. So one of the main important things about keeping a dream journal is you start to identify your dream symbols or dream signs. And basically, these are objects, characters, people, environments, even feelings that you commonly dream about. And the reason it's important to take note of your common dream symbols, the first reason is just for the fact that you can kind of have like a little summary of what's going on in your life. These things can change over time and kind of give you an idea of how you've been feeling lately or things that are bothering you that you need to work on. And the other reason is because when it comes to doing reality checks, which I'll explain in a second what that means, you can incorporate your dream symbols to really personalize them, and this is key to becoming lucid more often. A reality check is basically when you check your environment in your waking life to make sure if you're dreaming or not, which can sound kind of silly at first because right now as you're listening to this podcast, for example, you know that you're not dreaming, right? But in a dream, you also are so convinced that whatever weird dream situation going on is real life, and you're totally enthralled into that narrative. You don't realize that you're dreaming. So the point of a reality check is to build a habit that carries over into your dream space, and then something weird or different happens that makes you realize, oh my God, I'm dreaming. Like this reality check went totally different than it normally does. Some examples of reality check, a really common one is you can count your fingers, and in real life you have 10 fingers, but in a dream you might have like 30 fingers, or you might have like knives as fingers. And then when you actually take a moment to consciously check that, you might realize that you're dreaming. One that I like to do is I pull my finger, and obviously right now as I'm doing it, nothing happens, but in a dream it stretches like a giant rubber band, and that always triggers my lucidity. You can also like plug your nose and see if you can breathe, because in a dream you can probably breathe. Those are physical reality checks. You can also do mental reality checks. For example, when you're in a dream, you have no idea how you got here or like what's going on. You just kind of go with it. So if you take a second in your waking life to think about, okay, how did I get here? What was I doing today? What was my narrative of my day? When you're not in a dream, you can answer those questions. You know what went on today. But when you do that in a dream, you're like, wait a second, how did I get here? Whoa, I'm dreaming. And like that moment, that aha moment is like so trippy, and it's just so cool every time to realize that you're dreaming. If you've ever had a lucid dream before, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a great feeling when you just realize. Basically, you form a habit of doing these reality checks throughout the day. And as you're forming this habit, it carries over into your dream space, and you'll have the idea in a dream to do a reality check. So the purpose of the dream symbols, circling back to the dream journal, is that you use those as like triggers to remind you to do reality check. Because you commonly see these things in a dream, you're more likely to remember while you're dreaming, oh, let me do a reality check real quick. So, for example, I dream about cats a lot. So every time I see my cat, or my cat does something weird or unusual, I take a second to do a reality check. Right now in my waking life, okay, I know that I'm not dreaming because my finger didn't stretch, or whatever your reality check is. You can really make something up. You don't have to use the generic ones. Make up your own. Find what works for you. That's key with any dream work practice, is find what works for you. Since you commonly dream about these items, so in my case a cat, when I see a cat in my dream, which happens often, I'll remember my habit. Oh shit, let me do a reality check. Oh whoa, my fingers are not looking normal, so I'm dreaming. It's good to do 2 reality checks because dreams can try to trick you, so just kind of find 2 that you like, whether they're physical or mental, and do them often throughout the day. The important thing is, don't make it like a mindless habit where you just set an alarm on your phone and just do it and then you don't even think about it. That's not gonna work. Use your dream symbols to remind you. Actually take a second to truly test your environment. It can feel silly at first because you're like, I know I'm not dreaming right now, but that's the whole point, because in a dream you feel that way as well. So really take a second to test your environment. Whatever it is that you come up with, whether you pinch yourself to see if it hurts or you mentally try to backtrack how you got here, really make it mindful. And when you make it mindful, then you're practicing being lucid. Like if you guys know about the practice of mindfulness meditation, that's basically lucidity while you're awake. So it's all connected. When you practice being mindful and lucid in your real life, it'll just increase your chances of being lucid in your dreams, especially if you're keeping a dream journal. So that's why dream journals and reality checks really go together. But you have to find what works for you and make it mindful so that it's effective. So dream journaling and reality checks are the basis of any lucid dreaming practice. You can also start to experiment with different techniques that you find online. I'm also gonna, in the next couple of episodes, go over a lot of different things you can try that will help you become more lucid. These 2 things are just the basics. So that's why this is the first episode of the Lucid Dreaming Crash Course on the Dream World podcast. So definitely stay tuned to get more tips on how to become lucid, because every time we drop an episode, it's going to help your lucid dreams increase more and more. So if you're listening to this and you've never had a lucid dream and you want to get started, or maybe you're on a drought and you haven't had one in a really long time and you want to get back into it, start with these 2 things and then check back in a couple of days when we post our next episode, and I'm going to give you more tips on things you can do and techniques you can try that have worked for me and people that I talk to every day. If you have any specific questions or things you want me to address, you can follow the Dream World Podcast on Instagram or Facebook, and you can also go on thedreamworldpodcast.com. So again, this is the first series of the Lucid Dreaming Crash Course. Throughout this series, we're going to talk about different things such as supplements, sleep routines, meditations, incubating the idea of lucid dreaming into your mind through affirmations and just having a plan, and different things that are really powerful in this practice. So if you're getting started, welcome to the Dream World. My name is Amina, and let's get it going. Thanks for listening.